Alright, hello. You guys don't know who I am, nor do I think many of you care. We're here to talk about the RWBY Volume 3 opening credits sequence thing, which I have meticulously picked apart because I have no life and friends. None that live near me anyways. So we're just going to jump right into this. I'm going to be picking apart this trailer sequence by sequence, also analytical of what this could be referencing to, who the different characters are, how it relates to the story as a whole, and then maybe we'll reconvene later to tell me how wrong I am when the show actually comes out in a week. So let's get started here. We're going to be going in this without sound because then that makes syncing a lot easier for me. Alright, let's get this started. That's pretty self-explanatory. It's Rooster Teeth. Big whoop, right? Alright, so we got the Shattered Moon like before. Rooster Teeth presents. And, yeah. I'm not gonna lie, that brought a couple tears to my eyes when I first saw this yesterday, or a couple days ago, whenever it was. Yeah, yesterday. Yeah. Probably a consistent theme throughout this, including the song, is that this is very much so a love letter to Monty, and kind of like a, I don't know, this seems very funeral-esque to me, is what I'm saying. So, to avoid crying, let's move on. Okay, so obviously the Grimm moving fast. Okay, so really quick here. This is going very fast and you can almost miss it, but this seems very, very reminiscent of the Vital stage, which is going to be playing a big part in this season, according to what we already know about it so far. It's kind of hard to tell when it's going fast, but if you go frame by frame, it seems very similar to that. If nothing else, it definitely looks like some sort of practice arena. But again, given it's Volume 3 with the Vital Festival, that makes the most sense. Especially given those diagrams that were given out. Well, not diagrams, but especially given the last World of Remnant episode, which surrounded the Vital Festival. Okay, cool. So keep on moving. Okay. Ooh, what happened? My bad. Alright, get back to the right part. And, okay, so boom. We're going to see the teams here. RWBY, obviously. RWBY, Weiss, Blake, Yang. Next group is, of course... shoot, what's these guys' name? Team Sun, I believe, which is Sun, Scarlet, this dude who I don't know his name is, I'll put it in the annotation, whatever, and Neptune, obviously. So we're probably going to get to finally see Scarlet and this other dude here, this other green dude, which we don't know his name. I think probably some of you do, and you're probably commenting on how can I be a RWBY expert if I don't know this dude's name? I'm sorry, he's not appeared yet. Okay, moving on. Team Juniper. So I'm going to be guessing, obviously, by this, that these are the three teams that are going to be playing a big part in the series. Maybe as face-offs during the Vital Festival, probably also in the main plot going on that has to do with these guys. Mercury, Emerald, and Cinder, of course, who are posing as an opposing team from another kingdom. Who, Torchwick is actually, no, we'll get to that when we get to that. But yes, if you look at the background here, that very much so seems like podiums or some sort of judging station to me anyway. So I think that this is almost definitely the arena for the Vital Festival, which apparently if these guys are part of the teams, then they will also take part in it as well. Although I wonder who their fourth is going to be in that case. I guess we don't know yet. We'll move on. And symbolism, she's from hell or something. That's pretty self-explanatory, right? Okay, so Grimm. This is actually an interesting... Actually, no, never mind. That's just a cool transition. Okay, so the Grimm moving... Okay, this is an interesting shot to me. This is interesting to me because obviously that is Beacon, I believe. That's the Tower of Beacon in the background. So you have the Grimm moving on and, of course, going to the next shot. Yes, this is definitely Beacon. This is the statue in front of the school, which is kind of interesting to me because if Beacon has been invaded by the Grimm and Beacon is within the kingdom of... Shit, pause for a second. Right, Vale. Sorry, it's Vale. So if Beacon is within the kingdom of Vale, doesn't that mean that Vale has been overrun? Like, if they've been pushed all the way back to Beacon, then You see where I'm going with this here? I'm not sure if that's going to be the case. I don't know how that'll be the case, but I kind of came to those conclusions based on other things that we see later within the opening. But obviously this is just very ominous moving. It's definitely darker throughout. The forest. This is the forest in front of Beacon, probably maybe where they were doing the training exercises from season 1. So yeah, moving on. Very, very dark this season from the looks of it. Again, more encroaching on the Tower of Beacon, which good old Ozpin and Glenda Goodwitch trying to hold back the Grim, but it's not working. The glass is shattering. This is an interesting shot to me because it can mean twofold. I was actually talking to a friend about this, and she was kind of pointing out that this could either mean that Ozpin and Glenda are going to fail in keeping back the Grim through their otherwise predestined plan, what they were trying to do to begin with, what they have been doing in the backgrounds of the series so far, or it may collapse because the general dude here does it for them. Just because there's like this interesting way. It's like, okay, so first it's the Grim behind here, then when the glass actually shatters, though, it's the general and his whole band behind them. I don't know, just it's kind of an interesting dynamic to me. So I don't know, may not be the case, may be the case, but judging by the amount of ships here, the military of Atlas is probably going to be playing a much larger part in this season. And as we'll see later, I mean, that's a lot of dudes, plus those new robo things, which are cool. Alright, so Blake's walking through the forest, and who is that? It's Adam! Obviously, who we've only known from that one trailer, actually, now that I think about it. So, yeah. But anyways, as we saw at the end of Season 2, Adam comes back for the post-credit stinger and is employing the White Fang, or is now the de facto leader of the remaining White Fang, and is probably going to be working fairly closely with Cinder and their gang. What's interesting to me about this here is that Blake doesn't really stop when she sees him. Maybe I'm reading a little bit too much into this, but this almost looks like she was looking for him or something. Like, you know, like it's a very casual thing. Maybe it's a memory of her time with the White Fang or something like this. But this does not seem like, oh crap, there's Adam, blah, I should go beat him up or something, or hide at least. She seems very calm, very casual about the whole affair. So, yeah, just something that kind of stuck out to me and my friend when we were talking about it. Moving on. Ooh, he's menacing. Going on to this, more Grim. Okay, so this again, this kind of happens throughout the trailer. Is this kind of a special teamwork between Team RWBY and Team Juniper, which I'm actually very excited for, because in my opinion, the strongest points of Volume 2 and Volume 1 for that matter were when Juniper and RWBY were teaming up together. Not just in the fight sequences, but just the writing was the best when those 8 characters were together, because the 4 main characters, RWBY, Yang, Weiss, and Blake, were able to be themselves, be their own individual characters, and drive the plot and drive the narrative and drive the drama. But Juniper was always there to add comedic timing, to add comedic relief, especially with Nora and Ren's dynamic, which was excellent. Which I think a lot of us can agree that Nora easily has some of the best lines in the series, and it's because they are that background character. They're almost like kind of a Greek chorus well, not necessarily like a Greek chorus type characters, but they're the background characters. They're comedic relief. So yeah, it's very nice to see them being involved here in this battle. Plus, their weapons are awesome as well, especially since John seems to be improving greatly, because Pierre is finally training him, and he actually seemed pretty competent at the end of Volume 2 for the most part. So again, more shots of battle in front of Beacon with the military people in front of it, with the military people alongside them. So at the very least, even if Ozpin and Ironwood, that's his name, sorry, and even if Ozpin and Ironwood don't always see eye to eye, apparently the military can at least assist RWBY and her team in defending. Like they all do have essentially a common enemy, which are the Grim, which they will come together to fight no matter what. Moving on, cool, great great face-off event. I mean, there's really not much to dissect here. This is just kind of awesome, with the notable exception that Blake here is facing off against Adam, not Torchwick, like we saw in the last volume's opening credits, probably because Torchwick is in prison, and he might be. I don't know what Torchwick is going to be doing in prison. He doesn't appear at all during these trailers. So sorry, he doesn't appear at all during this opening sequence. So that's either means he's not part of it or he's not a large part of it, as far as I'm concerned. He may show up and do like the whole kind of Hannibal Lecter thing where he's like talking to them from prison, to maybe kind of get hints about what's going on, or maybe some. I don't know. He has like that kind of charisma that could lend themselves to that kind of interaction, but for the most part, he seems to be kind of sidelined in order for Adam to take over, which I really hope that Adam has gotten voice lessons since the first trailer that he appeared in, because, yeah, voice acting wasn't so great that first time around, but hopefully he's gotten better since then. And the weapon, and their weapons actually seem a lot more suited to fighting each other. Their weapons are very, very similar. Very similar here, even to the point where they both use the sword and the frick, what's it called? The sword and covering thing. Oh man, I'm gonna get crap for that one. The sword and covering. They both use both parts of their swords to work in combat, and they work very, very similar to each other. Side note, I kind of feel like the Weiss Emerald team up, like the Weiss Emerald fight here, to me just seems very much so like, wait, we need someone for Weiss to fight, so she's not going to be the interesting fight. You really want to see everyone else fight. I don't know, maybe I'm just being mean, but it always seemed like the least interesting matchup to me, anyways. Something quick to point out with this matchup here is the similarity in color scheming. I mean, obviously, duh, it's red. But I want to just point out the fact that throughout these guys, there's at least somewhat of a contrast. Yang's yellow to Mercury's silver, or gold, whatever for Yang, if you want to look at it that way. Blake's more kind of white-black dynamic to Adam's red-black dynamic. Weiss obviously being white, Emerald being emerald and brown, and kind of like more of a coppery kind of tone to it. But Ruby and Cinder seem very, very similar to me. And I know this has been pointed out by dozens of fan theories. I know like she's not her mom or anything like that. They're not related in that respect, at least to our knowledge. But I just want to point out that they're really setting up these two characters, in my opinion, being very similar. Both in terms of their attack style, both in terms of their look. I mean, even down to like similar black hair, similar looking to the face. Like, there's a reason why people come up with the theories that this was actually Summer Rose until recently, because they look so similar. That, in my opinion, that can't be a coincidence. They are setting that up for something, if not like maybe a long lost relative, maybe an older sister they don't remember. I'm not sure, but they're definitely setting that up for something, in my opinion. And here is the money shot. The money shot that everyone is freaking the hell out about, including myself. So obviously here we see Weiss and her big sister Winter, and then Ruby, Yang, and their Uncle Crow. Finally, we see what Crow looks like. And yeah, it's kind of cool to see in action. This is actually the part of the trailer that gets really interesting to me, because a lot of it seems to make more... A lot of it is either reaffirming characteristics that we've already been assuming about characters, or it is confirming a lot of fan theories that have been floating around since the end of pretty much Volume 1 and Volume 2, for that matter. So, let's break this down piece by piece and how I interpret a lot of this. So, this to me symbolizes quite a lot, actually. Mostly about Weiss's character. In this one moment, to me, Weiss is it changes Weiss's character's, not her character necessarily, but her outlook on the character. Weiss all of a sudden in this image goes from being a girl with daddy issues to being a girl with an idol complex. Notice how she's smiling here. She is not jealous of her sister. She is not envious. She is not resentful of her sister having more authority, like I think a lot of us were assuming during that one kind of name drop at the end, in the middle of Volume 2, where she says, "No, I don't want to talk to my sister." A lot of us kind of took that, at least I did. We took that as like she doesn't really like her sister. Maybe she doesn't get along. Maybe she's jealous of her, kind of thing. No, she's smiling here. She loves, and this to me, this smile represents a and admiration. She idolizes her sister, but she idolizes her sister, but a lot of her snottiness, a lot of her brattiness, I think comes from self-loathing. The fact that she is almost this perfect, but she's not. Even look at like the character design here. The character design here is very much so like Winter is quite literally a more grown-up, more dignified, and more elegant version of Weiss. Even down to the clothing, even down to her hairstyle, even down to her weapon, which is much more curvature, while Weiss's is kind of much more hard-edged. Maybe I'm reading way too much into this. I very well could be, but honestly, I get a kick out of doing this too, so I thought maybe I'd share my thoughts with you on this. We'll find out once the season, once the season commences next week. But that's what I get from this. That a lot of Weiss's complexes in terms of trying to be perfect is not trying to impress her father, who we have never seen in the show and has never shown much of an interaction with, other than the fact that she doesn't really like him so much. This to me says that a lot of her perfection complex comes from the fact that she wants to be her sister. I think many of us who've had older brothers or older siblings or people we've looked up to, I personally have not, but I've talked to, I was discussing this with a friend, and she very much so, like, she kind of agreed with me in this statement. Tell me what you guys think in the comments down below. So, moving on to this character interaction, obviously RWBY is just infatuated's a bad word, they're related. RWBY definitely idolizes her uncle in the same way. Like, just look at that. She smiles, she's like joy and like kind of happy, like kind of a happy kid giddiness kind of thing like that as her uncle walks off. And Yang is a little bit more reserved because obviously Yang is not related to Crow by blood, at least I'm pretty sure. So she kind of sees him more, again, my friend, she kind of put it as like Yang is almost looking at him like an older brother kind of thing, like very much so like, oh yeah, he's cool, but he's just kind of like, he's family, he's a friend, he was always a friend of the family kind of thing, which I think might sum up that relationship pretty closely as well. Also we get some looks at Crow's big ass sword right there, which is awesome. Not a scythe though, interesting note. They don't like each other. This is an interesting thing to point. There have been, I've come up with a couple theories of this, by talking with friends and also looking at the forums and stuff, that either, the way I saw it, my initial reaction to this was that this almost looks like the relationship if Weiss had become the team leader instead of RWBY, but they had still been put on the same team. Obviously, they were not on the same team, so that doesn't completely apply here, but I think that general idea exists within here. Like, they are very they have animosity towards each other. They have animosity towards each other, but I think that comes from the fact that their styles are very different. Again, Winter's very elegant, she's very composed, she looks very kept, while Crow seems to be the kind of like, cool, lived-in uncle who gives you beer kind of thing. Like, he looks very laid back, very chill, very unkept. He has like the nice little scruffle beard going on there. He has like the one button undone, stuff like that, showing off some of his chest, that kind of thing. And I don't know. We'll see what their relationship ties into in the future. My friend actually did suggest the idea that they might have been on rival teams back in school. That their teams might have faced off each other, if indeed Winter is old enough to be in that scenario. We don't know how much older Winter is compared to Weiss. And here is the... I screen capped this thing, and I have it like as one of my wallpapers now on my computer, because this is the shot we've been waiting for, which basically confirms a million different fan theories. So obviously, we now know, okay, so who do we know was on the same team together? Yang's mom, RWBY's mom, they're both their dad, and Crow. The guy in the middle left, obviously both their dads. He looks like Yang almost completely, in terms of just like the blonde hair, and he looks like a brawler. He looks very similar to Yang in that respect. Guy version of Yang. Gender flip. Girl in the middle right, who we have seen before, and the fans have dubbed Raven, is almost certainly Yang's mom. We saw it at the end of Volume 2, where we had the post-credit stinger where Yang's almost kind of like in that dream state, and she's talking to her, and she says, "Yang, we have much to discuss." Almost definitely her mom with the nice, awesome revolver sword thing. Again, awesome. And for the first time in the series, except for the opening of Volume 1, where we kind of saw like a ghost silhouette of her in the first few moments of it, we finally get a look at Summer Rose. She looks so cute, doesn't she? I don't know. She definitely looks the introvert, and almost not really what RWBY is. Like, she definitely looks like RWBY. You can definitely tell, like, oh, that is probably a younger version of what RWBY's mom looks like. Similarity is definitely there, but there's just something like a little bit more introverted, a little bit more quiet. Like, think RWBY mixed with Blake almost. It kind of seems like that to me. And then Crow, he seems like the wild guy in the right over here, who we've already seen before. And this is how we know who everyone is. Summer on the left, Tai Yang or Tai Zhao Long on. So this is how we know who everyone is. Summer Rose on the far left, Tai Zhao Long on the middle left. Whoever Yang's mom is, who we have dubbed Raven for now, on the middle right, and then their uncle, and then RWBY's Uncle Crow on the far right. And this to me is an interesting shot here. The fact that his weapon has gears in it, but also the fact that we kind of go into the gears. Like, he is going to be associated with, well, obviously, like, this kind of gears and mechanical workings here. That both leads to a little bit of insight to what his weapon is all about. We're not quite sure yet, but there might be some sort of transformation thing to make it into more of a scythe kind of weapon. But also what's interesting to me is that the other character in the show who has been often personified and looked at and been associated with clocks and gears has been Ozpin, which we have already seen at the end of Volume 1 that they are at least somewhat familiar with each other. Maybe they're associated, maybe they're working together behind the scenes. I don't know. That might lead to how Crow gets implemented into this series. Maybe Ozpin is all like, hey, Ironwood's taking over, I need to bring in some bigger guns here, so he calls in his old friend Crow. Just my thoughts on the matter. So we go into here, and at first what we see is like this kind of generic red, black, Eye of Sauron kind of thing. And I didn't catch this. My good friend caught this, actually, that this is, well, one, the connection I made is that this is very, very similar to a similar effect that happened in the opening credits to Volume 1, which really didn't make any sense there. I just kind of assumed that it was like, oh, that's a cool effect to make the show look more atmospheric or something like that. But this has actually appeared in the show. This is the portal that Raven uses in at the end of Volume 2 to save Yang, like where she kind of like, I don't know, she slashes at the air with her sword, jumps into the portal, and then jumps out of it. That opens up a bunch of new possibilities. Like, what are these portals here? Because as we're seeing here, RWBY and the gang, they're all falling into this portal. Is it going to be some sort of escape route at the end of the season? Are they going to be using it to fight the Grimm? Are they going to be using it to maybe find out another layer of a world beyond it, maybe where the Grimm originally came from? I don't know, but that seems like an interesting way to go about it here for me. And then you have Team Juniper falling away. RWBY looks really, really sad. And then this is a very, very dour ending to the whole thing, which kind of leads me to bold prediction for what might happen in the season. I'm not sure. My bold prediction, based on these opening credits, is that Vale or Beacon or the Vital Festival of some kind is going to get overrun. Maybe characters die. I'm not sure. That might actually tie into some interesting resonance with Ren's character, who, if you don't know, was voiced by Monty and is now being voiced by Monty's brother for this season. But yeah, if the Vital Festival or Beacon or Vale gets overrun by Grimm, then maybe they're going to use that portal to escape. I don't know. Maybe it'll happen, maybe it won't. Probably won't. But this, to me, does not just look like, oh, darker ending kind of thing. Because like, oh, what? A sequel is going to be darker than the previous one? You don't say. This, to me, though, doesn't look just darker. This looks like they lost. Like, this isn't just, oh, we lost the Vital Festival and we got to move on with our lives and stuff. Or, oh, like, the Grimm, like, they killed one of our friends and stuff like that. This looks like they lost. Like, they lost, like, either their homes or their lives, or they just straight up failed everything that they were trying to do, which is they're being trained to save the world. Yeah. So, okay. And that's the end. And now that I look at the timer, I've just spent 25 minutes deconstructing a thing that was like a minute and a half. So, I clearly know what I'm doing with my life. So, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed everything. So, I don't usually do vloggy kind of stuff, but seeing as RWBY is kind of a special thing, and not a whole lot of other shows kind of follow those kind of things week to week. Like, you often see, like, you know, people doing vlog updates for shows like Adventure Time or Gravity Falls or Avatar or with The Walking Dead and stuff like that, but I haven't seen any for RWBY. So, if you guys want, post a comment in the description down below. See if maybe I'll come back every week to like kind of follow this week to week, and we can kind of have a discussion in the comments and kind of talk. I'll definitely be answering a lot of the comments, and we can kind of form different theories together, that kind of thing. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. See you guys next time, or never if you don't want to see me ever again. I won't hold it against you, don't worry. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, we do other stuff on this channel. Like, you should check out here. It might be here. I forgot where I'm going to be putting the end title thing on here. But somewhere here are going to be other videos that we have done on this channel. You should check them out. We do short films and other kind of content that hopefully will be coming out pretty soon. So stay tuned for that. Like and subscribe if you like us. Don't forget to follow us on all of our things. In the Twitters, in the Instagram, and the Vine. We do weekly Vine, which are kind of like these slapstick comedy things that I put together really quickly. So click on that if you want to see some of those. Anyways, yeah.